the Guardians do matter, so we can at least say that, right? We can get off to a good start on this phone call, right, Jason?
You matter, as Bernie would say. You matter.
That's right. So maybe we'll get to the Guardians towards the end of this call. But your headline, Brown should start Dillon Gabriel. How much worse can it get? And I've made the case that I think it can get a lot worse. But again, I'm in the minority. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was actually listening. I drove my son to school, and I had you guys on a little bit ago. I was listening. And Lama, I really don't disagree with what you were saying about, it could have been more sacks and da-da-da-da. I hear you. I think you make valid points. I just think right now the playbook is cut in half, and the stuff that they do best, well, in the past, theoretically, that they do best, a big part of the playbook is just sort of the boots and the rollouts, and they can't do any of that. So they've taken a third of the playbook and thrown it out right now. It was funny, guys. I was walking back up to the press box last night after the game. They were piping in Dan Campbell's post game, and Dan was just talking about the last touchdown to Amon-Ra. Jared recognized the blitz. The Browns had called it on the previous possession, and Jared saw it coming, changed the protection, changed the play, hit St. Brown on a quick screen, easy touchdown. And Dan was just raving about, it's next level. Like this, I don't know if people understand when your quarterback can do that, when he can recognize that and spot that and see that, how much that unlocks what you can do. And I just thought about that. I'm like, the Browns aren't getting that. And when you're starting a guy with 200 career games over 18 years like that, you should at least be able to get that. And they're not getting that. And part of it, I think, is the mobility issues. I agree. It's not all on him. It's not all his fault. But you got to try something. And you took this guy in the third round. Like, you could have taken the tackle in the third round. You sure could use a tackle right now. So it's sort of like it's sort of two prongs on this, that you want to see what you've got in him, and yet at the same time, I don't think anybody's viewing Dillon Gabriel as the future of the franchise right now. It's not like, he's a first-round pick and the pillar of the franchise, and if you throw him out there too soon, you're going to break his. That's not the conversation. If it's a disaster, put Joe back in. It's not that big of a deal, because I don't think anyone's looking at him as the quarterback of the next 10 to 15 years here anyway. But right now, just to try and get, now, again, having said that, they could start running boots and Dillon could run right into sacks, because the tackles actually, I thought, maybe I'm crazy, but watching it live, it felt early like the tackles were actually holding up okay. And
I thought so early. Okay. Yeah, I thought so early.
Yeah.
They got worn down.
And then as the score got out of hand, as Hutchinson was able to just sort of dial up, things, he really started feeling duress late. But early on, I felt like, wow, okay, like, it looks a little bit better, and the protection's a little bit better. And because I watched both lines through the binoculars quite a bit for the first half of the game just to see, and it really felt like the tackles held up early, and then it just got out of hand.
Yeah, Jason, I don't think it matters who they start at quarterback at this point. Two things: one, the blocks and drops are a problem, and I don't think a quarterback change fixes that. The other thing, too, is do you really want to throw Dillon Gabriel, a third-round pick who's already undersized, out there in London against the Vikings defense, and then come back to the States and play him against Pittsburgh, a place that has been a house of horrors for you for the last 30 years? Why not wait? I agree. The change has to come at some point. Why not wait till Miami? Why not make that the line of demarcation? Because then the season is pretty much officially over at that point, and then you can look forward and do your evaluation.
Well, and those are valid points, and I think that's why all along everyone has sort of pointed to Miami, get through the first six, and then Miami. I wrote about that. Brian Flores would be licking his chops at a rookie quarterback, but you don't think Brian Flores is licking his chops at an immobile Joe Flacco as well? Like, Minnesota and Pittsburgh both are among the league leaders in pressures called and blitzes called. And the one thing I thought Baltimore did really well a couple weeks ago was disguising some of their looks, showing blitz, dropping, only sending four, but it seemed to confuse the Browns at times on which four were coming and which were dropping. I would expect to see more of that and that's more of a line issue than a quarterback issue. I would expect Minnesota to do more of that. Obviously, Pittsburgh's going to do that. So yeah, it's all fair, but I guess if you're going to confuse a rookie quarterback, then you're going to get to an old man as well. So there is no great solution to this. The problems run so much deeper than Joe, and I don't want to put it all on Joe. He's been so good for this organization in so many ways. Just being a professional, just handling his business and doing everything asked of him and meeting all of his responsibilities. And it seems like a low bar, but they've had such a tremendous model while he's been here at that position. But at the same time, this goes back to the summer, guys, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand why they brought him here. I didn't understand why he would start a 40-year-old quarterback. What are you trying to gain from that? And the Pickett thing, I thought all summer. I thought Kenny Pickett was going to be the starter. I think he would have been the starter had he not got hurt. And then you trade him for a 5th-round pick. And now you're stuck with this situation of an immobile 40-year-old quarterback and two rookie backups, mid-round backups at that. So there is no solution to this other than you just have to march through it. You just have to get through it, and you have to get better players in the draft. And nobody wants to hear that at the end of September when you still got, 12 games to go, 13 games, whatever it is. I totally get it. But that's just the reality of where their roster is, where their cap is, and where their talent level is. They just need more players. They were never going to fix all this in one draft. I thought they drafted really, really well with the guys that they did pick, obviously, but they were never going to solve everything. But the fact that you used a 3rd-round pick on this guy when you knew the state that your line was in, you knew that you were aging out at guards, that your tackle position was could be in dire straits, and they didn't address it. So you better play the third round pick that you did select.
Yeah, admittedly, we're talking to Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. Admittedly, part of this is my bias against Dillon Gabriel because I just don't know why they drafted him. It made no sense to me. I get it throwing darts at the dartboard, but I thought he was overdrafted, and I don't see him as anything other than if best case scenario for him is a backup in the league. And to me, why are we drafting a backup before we have, our long-term starter? And then they go and take Shador just to add to the 4-man race all camp, which made no sense to me either. So I think part of my bias against making a move is I just don't think Dillon Gabriel's good, and so to me he's DTR, and we saw what happened when DTR was fed to the Lions, or in that case it was the Ravens. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me to take him in general, but obviously they feel really good about him because they drafted him, and they drafted him ahead of where most teams would have drafted him.
And you might be right, but I mean whoever he starts against, whether it's the Vikings or the Steelers or the Dolphins or whichever team, it may look ugly and clunky early, and you're going to have to ride through it. You're going to have to give him multiple starts to see if he can work out his issues. But I don't know that I disagree all that much with your overall assessment of Dillon. I think I probably agree quite a bit in terms of his future and his outlook. And again, on a roster with so many holes on it, that's why it was just a little bit confusing, unless he just goes out here and just absolutely dominates and balls out and proves all of us wrong. But right now, this organization has not earned the benefit of the doubt at the quarterback position. It's not like the Guardians can make moves and you say, well, they've got a track record of success, so we're going to trust them on this one. And usually more times than not, it works out. You don't feel that way with the Browns. And I totally understand. I get the skepticism. It's warranted and it's deserved.
Jason, another week, another Bubba Ventrone special teams breakdown. What would you say he does for the Cleveland Browns?
Man, it's bad. It's bad right now. And that was, they were really excited to get him. And
they made him associate head coach.
Well, they were I thought Prefer was safe. And then when Bubba became available sort of late in the process, they pivoted back and fired Mike and brought in Bubba. No, it's not good right now. Obviously, seems like there's special teams issues across the league right now with blocks and just some other issues. I don't know that I put the kicks on the special teams coach, and I know that sounds goofy, but I talked about this with you guys a couple weeks ago. What special teams coach in the league understands kicking? I don't understand why more teams don't go out and bring in kicking experts to help with the kicking game. But the coverage,
you would think the Browns, who are like the analytic information gurus of the National Football League, and they can't find a kicker to save their lives, right? I mean, the kicking jersey's as long as the quarterback jersey. I don't know why they don't hire a kicking coach.
Yeah, but the the blocks, the returns, that's all on the special teams coach. When you're getting punts blocked, when you're giving up punt returns for touchdowns, that absolutely falls on the special teams coach. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to do anything in the middle of the season. They didn't do that a few years ago with Joe Woods when it was absolutely warranted. They're not going to do it now. You can only hope that they sort of get some of the stuff cleaned up and sorted out. But, yeah, I mean, when you look at yesterday, Lions scored 34 points, and 24 of the 34 came on 41 yards of offense. They had, I don't have it in front of me now, a 5-yard drive, I think, a 16-yard drive, the punt return for a touchdown. Think about it. It's a 10-10 game without the offensive mishaps and the special teams blown that gave up the touchdown. Otherwise, the Lions on their own really only scored 10 points of offense. So it's just – and that's not to say the Browns are on the same level as the Lions. They are not. It's just sort of illustrate the picture of how good this defense has been and how catastrophic the offense is right now.
All right, Jason, Jerry Jeudy yesterday was a total disaster. And I've said that I think people would maybe be saying some different things about Flacco today if Jeudy did his job. He was very emotional during the game. He was very emotional after the game. I'll give him credit because he took ownership over how bad he was. But, yeah, this was a big swing to get him here. And last year, people thought he validated the trade by having the production that he had. What do you make of the Jerry Jeudy situation?
He's got to be better. He's at best, I think if he's a number one, he's certainly a low end number one in the NFL of receivers. I would be more comfortable with him as a 2 than as a 1 in terms of talent production. But this is where they're at. This is who they traded for, and this is who they paid. And I also think drops are a part of it for a lot of guys. It's magnified when the offense is in such disarray as what it is. Every big play feels like it has to be converted and made because there's just not that many of them. And that's not to excuse him at all because, like I said, I think he's a low-end number one. But I do think when things are as bad as they are right now, every little mistake is magnified. But haven't really been impressed with him at all this year. Yes, he had the great little burst with Jameis last year. But overall, I don't know. I don't see it. Maybe with a better quarterback play around him, things would be better. But I don't know. They just need so much talent on that side of the ball across at almost every position. I really like Judkins. I think that's going to work. Honestly, they need 2 new tackles and probably a new guard. I don't know what you do with Posick at center. I kind of thought this was going to be Wyatt's last year, but now I'm kind of wondering if you have to pay him and bring him back just because there's going to be so much turnover up front. You need new receivers. Tillman is okay. Jeudy is okay. That's the best thing you could say about the offense outside of Judkins is, well, these guys are okay. I mean, Fannin certainly has shown quite a bit of promise. Looks like he's going to be a long-term piece, but outside of that, it's really disappointing across the board.
All right, enough of this depressing talk here, Jason. Let's talk about the team worthy of the conversation in town, the Guardians. Where would you rank this historic comeback, 15.5 down to take the division? And do they have to beat the Tigers this week to validate it for folks?
No, I was on with you and Ken a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the Guardians, and I think Ken asked, do they need to win? Do they need to make the playoffs for the season to be a success? And I said, yeah. Just because of some of the off-season moves that they had made, and it got so bad in the middle of the summer. I think that they were validated just by making it. I have absolutely no idea what to expect from this team going forward. I know historically you have to hit the ball out of the ballpark pretty consistently to have postseason success because teams get to the bullpen so much early. It's hard to string together 3 and 4 and 5 hits like this team needs to do to consistently score runs. Obviously, Roku had the big home run yesterday. Roku had a big playoff series last year. But the teams that typically, not always, but typically advance are the teams that can consistently hit the ball into the seats. And I don't know if this team can do that, but their pitching and defense has been so good. Let's see. And obviously, you wonder if there's some sort of mental block with the Tigers with the success that the Guardians have had against them. and how much that plays into all of this. They're going to have Scooble going in game one, obviously, but the Guardians don't seem daunted by that. They've won games that he started multiple times, huge games here, going back last year and this year. So I'm looking forward to the series. We'll see. I don't think that they need to win to validate anything. It's just funny because I was thinking about this morning. I've talked to Zach Meisel about this a couple of times. The Jerry Dipoto quote from a couple of years ago, I don't know, you kind of probably have to be a pretty big baseball fan to remember what he said about teams just want to win 54% of their games over a 10-year stretch, because teams that do that ultimately usually have success and wind up in a World Series. And that's really been sort of the Guardians' theme, is maybe not the 54%, but just be in it every year, and hopefully you get hot at the right time. Well, that's certainly where the team seems to be right now. They just sort of hung around. They were out of it. They got hot at the right time, and now obviously they're playing the best baseball of the season going into October, which is really all you can ask for. And now you wait and see what happens.
All right, Jason, it's good to go out on a high note. We appreciate it. Thanks as always.
All right, see you guys.
All right, there he is, Jason Lloyd, who says, make the change. Basically, I want to get into this. He's saying it can't get any worse.
Oh, I have news for you.